Let me just say this. I love my wife. But if that beautiful bald man Joe Rogan rings me up and says to me, hey, random Australian YouTuber comedian dude, do you want to move over to America and live in my basement so I can squirt you with moisturizer in the middle of the day? You better believe I'll say yes. I am the leader in Australia of the Joe Rogan dick riders, and you better believe I love this man. All the DMT conversations.
Look at that. If that was on a spaceship, etched into the side of the spaceship, you'd be like, holy shit, it's a fucking alien language.
And the elk hunting conversations.
But the point is, I know exactly where that meat's coming from. Like I know the whole chain of command. I know everything that's happened from the time that animal got hit until the time I'm cooking it.
You can't get sick of him. He's a good bloke. I do love Joe. I think he's had a profound effect on many people's lives. He's a very, very influential person. And through his podcast and the 2,000 or so episodes that have been released over the past 10 years or so, he's done a great job. He's done amazing things. I began listening to his podcast at the end of high school, and I'm still listening to it now. I can't say that for anything else. I reckon I've learned more from his podcast than I did in all of my schooling years. But it's not just Joe himself. And this is what people don't get when they say they don't like Joe Rogan's podcast. It's like, it's not about him. It's about the guests he has on, like Randall Carlson, or Graham Hancock, or David Goggins, or Edward Snowden, Bob Lazar. Christ, he's had The Undertaker on, he's had Miley Cyrus on, Rhonda, Patrick, Jordan, Peterson, Jocko Willink, to name just a couple out of the hundreds. I started stand-up because of a podcast episode I listened to in 2014 with Joey Diaz. That's how much of an impact it's had on my life. So yeah, I get a bit defensive when someone attacks Joe Rogan, all right? Just like the Australian media company Junkie decided to do recently, and, well, let's just say it's time to attack them back. Let me just interject with this. Junkie are the poorest excuse for print media in Australia. They are ridiculous. But before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, stop waiting for Christmas. Make yourself a gift today. Have fun and relax with Hero Wars right now. Hero Wars is the best fun you can have on your phone. Battle enemies with dozens of heroes, unlock skills, and power up your hero. Fight epic multiplayer PvP arena battles with the online fantasy game. Immerse yourself in a fascinating story, complete missions, kill bosses, discover, and level up new heroes. In Hero Wars, everyone can find a character to suit themselves. We got cyborgs, aliens, vampires, even furries. Ooh. It's so very easy to start playing, but assembling a perfect team of heroes, well, that's an art in itself. And of course, Christmas magic is here in Hero Wars as well. From December 24th, it's the best time to start playing, but you can collect a lot of presents and cool items right now. Collect your new heroes, decorate the Christmas tree, progress through the advent calendar, and learn the mysterious story. Oh, hang on. One other thing, I almost forgot. Where can you get 30,000 coins, 600 emeralds, and 5 awesome heroes to start dominating right away? Too slow, let me tell you. The answer is the link down below in the description. Ladies and gentlemen, head there right now and start playing today. Ladies and gentlemen, play Hero Wars now and support those that support this channel. Now, back to the video. This is from Junkie, Australia's favorite Spotify podcast is the Joe Rogan Experience. So that's bleak. Yeah, that's how they started this off. Let's dive into this hit piece, shall we? Okay, so the article is written by this lady, Leah Kim. Okay? She obviously is upset that the Joe Rogan podcast is so popular. I guarantee she's never fucking listened to it. I guarantee you that. That's what's hilarious about all these people. They've never sat down and listened to this. And if they ever have, they've probably been upset because Joe's talking to other people like dudes talk to each other. That's the problem with, like, they don't understand how men communicate. We say maybe something interesting or intellectual, and then we feel the rest of the conversation, be that 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, with just dumb shit. That's how men communicate. That's how we get points across. I guarantee you she's only ever listened to clips that have been put up on Twitter by angry people. Clips like the one that she refers to later in the article about Joe's alleged misogyny. Joe also is married with like 3 daughters. So yeah, I'm sure he's a huge misogynist.
I had girls sucking my dick and giving me coke from Chewy. You think I'm fucking kidding you? Fuck yeah, you gotta suck my dick to get up in the belly room. I'll make a call for you. That's the fucking gateway into coming to Hollywood. Everybody knows that.
How many girls did you have do that?
Oh, 20 of them. I had this little blonde open mic chick, dog.
And then, of course, there's the racism claims because he used the N-word in clips from the last 12 years. They put them all together to make them sound like he just said them yesterday. Joe came out and talked about that and said, yeah, okay, I probably shouldn't have said that, even though all of the clips were out of context and he was referring and quoting people in certain circumstances. Anyway, whatever. That still doesn't convince Leah, because she still thinks that he is a very evil man and must be stopped. But none of this should surprise me, because look at what Leah has written of late. This is the only other article that was even worth mentioning. Are we emotionally ready for an underwater avatar? Give her a fucking award now. What amazing journalism. This is who people are listening to? What? Anyway, this is how she starts off the article. Australia's most streamed podcast on Spotify, according to this year's Spotify Wrapped, was the Joe Rogan podcast. Let that sink in. Yeah, that's crazy, Leah, to think that this podcast with millions and millions and millions of views with the most influential people on the globe going on it regularly, yeah, that's the most popular podcast. Isn't that crazy? I mean, it was either going to be that or my podcast, Cancel Me Now. It's very good. It's on Spotify. Go and check it out. Leah goes on to talk about Spotify Wrapped, the end of the year Spotify thing where you get to find out what songs you listen to the most and all that shit, right? It's also a treasure trove of big data that tells us who really had everyone's ear on Spotify. And I regret to inform you that for Australians in 2022, it was Joe Rogan. Given the year we've had, I'm not entirely surprised. I'm not the first to notice that right-wing noise is getting louder. Yeah, Joe's right-wing, is he? Is he? So Joe being pro-abortion, that's a right-wing thing, is it? Joe voting for Democrats in elections, that's right-wing, yeah? Wanting free universities and colleges and having all the debts basically forgiven, that's right-wing, right? Decriminalising weed and psychedelics, open to a universal basic income, right-wing. Pro-welfare, pro-healthcare, pro-gay marriage, so right-wing, Leah. She goes on to talk about more of the right-wing voices that's coming for Australians. Trans communities in Australia have been put through hell. Have they? After taking cues from the culture wars in the US, Florida passed the Don't Say Gay bill. If you don't know what the Don't Say Gay bill is, it was named that by left-leaning news organisations. It was basically to stop teachers teaching young children about changing their gender. Roe v. Wade was overturned and some teachers in the UK have reported an uptick in far-right ideologies amongst their students. Wow, some teachers have seen far-right people in their classrooms. There's always going to be some psychos in there. Anyway, I like to think that Joe Rogan takes the best from both worlds, the best from the right-wing side of politics and the left-wing, and lives in the middle, where we all should be. Stop fucking dedicating yourselves to your political ideologies like it's a religion, you psychos. Hell, even our own former Prime Minister met Jordan Peterson for some reason. I will never understand this hatred for Jordan Peterson. I will never get it. I don't agree with everything he's ever said. I don't agree with everything I've ever said. All right? You don't have to. But to hate him, to think he's an evil person, is absolutely insane. While the political leaning of Rogan himself can be a little contradictory, it's precisely this grey area where he thrives. That's a polite way of saying, yeah, he says he's a libertarian, but actually he's super right-wing. By identifying himself as a guardian of free speech, Rogan has carved out a space that allows him to platform controversial guests without taking responsibility for what they say. Yeah, free speech is bad. It is awful, just woeful. Joe doesn't take responsibility for everything that his guests have ever said or will ever say. Just like you, Leah, and the people at Junkie, right? You guys don't take responsibility for everything that people you've written about say. For example, here's a story about Kanye West. That's you platforming Kanye, right? On Junkies, made it onto Junkies, killing it, right? You're platforming him, and then he goes on to talk about Hitler, which was very interesting on Alex Jones. And does that mean that you guys are behind what he's saying? Or you're platforming that? Of course it doesn't, you fucking idiot. In the same vein that Rogan's not. Pushing free speech is marvellous, but apparently Leah and the people at Junkie hate free speech. Yes, political discourse can be exhausting and polarising. It can come with a lot of hard truths and need for some serious critical thinking. But Joe Rogan has demonstrated time and time again that he's not the right guy for the job. Please tell me why this woman who's been out of uni for 15 fucking minutes gets to decide who and who isn't the right person to talk about political discourse. Rogan has platformed guests, for example, who have claimed that hospital executives were hiding COVID treatment from patients. Well, in Australia, you still can't get fucking monoclonal antibodies without a doctor's prescription, and you couldn't get them for a long period of time, even though they were proven to help. He's also falsely claimed that masks don't reduce COVID transmissions and reckons that mRNA vaccines are a major threat for reproductive health. So I don't want this video to be taken down, so I'm not even going to comment on it. I'm not even going to comment on the vid. Fauci is my boy. Yeah. All I will say is that some of the things that are now mainstream news approved would have got you banned from social media 6 months ago. It's funny how things change. Yeah. It's unclear why Rogan's podcast has so much sway in Australia. Perhaps people find solace in his gym bro energy and see the words free speech as an ironclad defense, or because he has amazing guests and he's very fucking funny. Maybe it's because it's the only place you can go and listen to a podcast for 4 fucking hours that talk about MMA, ancient archaeology, and fucking space, all in the same fucking podcast. But Rogan's podcast isn't the robust marketplace of ideas we think it is. It's misinformation and disinformation, not to mention misogyny and racism, packed in a form of a reasonable guy just wanting to have a conversation, and Australians are eating it up. Fucking shut the fuck up, Leah, you fucking goose. I love how journalists put these shit opinions out there under the guise of a media organisation and people look at it like it is truth. Here is the reality. Leah's got a dumb opinion, a fucking stupid opinion, and she's put it out there and it's still stupid, it's still dumb, and it is wrong. Leah, fuck you to the moon. But I'll tell you this, I've got a problem with Rogan myself, all right? I've got a fucking problem, and so does all of Australia, all right? We've got a problem with you, Joe, because you refuse to come down here. The fuck's right? You think you're better than us? I've heard him talk about it many times. I've heard him talk about it with one of my good mates, Adam Greentree, right? He said to Adam that it's too dangerous, too many spiders, too many snakes, too many fucking crocodiles. Well, Joe, I'm sure you're watching this. G'day. I love you. I'm probably going to shave my head soon. It's getting that way. But anyway, Joe, here is a message from the great man, Adam Greentree, on what you're missing out on down under.
Joe Rogan is absolutely one of the toughest people, if not the toughest person I've ever met, both physically and mentally. Like, no doubt he can handle himself. He's a good dog. But when it comes to Australia, Mr. Rogan is the fucking biggest pussy going. He's about as hard as a fucking rotten grape. And like, I've been on this continent for 40 odd years and I still ain't died. So come out, brother. I only want you out here for a couple of weeks or a week. Show you some true Aussie outback.
I reckon you got more chance of dying driving one of them roads over there. Anyway, I'm just going to keep pestering you to come out. Take it easy.